Her smile shines as bright as the stars at night. Her heart is as kind as can be. She has the patience of a saint, but if you push her, oh Lordy. A straight talker is Smiley. She's the salt of the earth. Make no mistake, she matters. Catch Smiley's story on a live stream. Oh boy, that girl can matter. Go Smiley. She's Smiley, alright. She's Smiley. Make no mistake why she's here. She's Smiley, alright. She's Smiley. If you're guilty, she'll smell out your fear. Missing posters and stories of heartache and fear. She tells us all of the heartbreaking tears. She can sniff out the guilty from a mile away. If Smiley's on the case, then she's here to stay. She cares about these missing children. She cares deeply about them all. She speaks the truth with integrity. For the truth, she will seek it all. She's Smiley, alright. She's Smiley. Make no mistake why she's here. She's Smiley, alright. She's Smiley. If you're guilty, she'll smell out your fear. Smiley's questions are like a heat-seeking missile. She's going straight for the bullseye. Don't ever believe you can fool her. She's too wise, man, she won't comply. She values freedom like the 4th of July. She values respect even more. If you want to earn a place at Smiley's table, watch the clock, it takes time for sure. She's Smiley, alright. She's Smiley. Make no mistake why she's here. She's Smiley, alright. She's Smiley. If you're guilty, she'll smell out your fear. If you break her trust, you're done for. Trust don't grow back like grass. So don't give Smiley a reason to doubt you, or that friendship will shatter like glass. She's a damn good woman, that much we know. She puts in the hours to bring them kids home. If your child is missing, you want Smiley on the case. She is always willing and she gives so much grace. She's a Smiley, alright. She's a Smiley. Make no mistake why she's here. She's Smiley, alright. She's Smiley. If you're guilty, she'll smell out your fear.
Welcome in, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope everybody's doing good on this Sunday. Having nice weather, having hot coffee or drinks or whatever it is you drink. Hello, Dawn. Hello, beautiful Janice. Thank you, all my mods, for being here. And beautiful Millie. Panda Bear's mom, good morning. Let's see what you're saying this morning. You missed my... I didn't. I am so sorry. Okay, here we go. Hold on. I didn't come on yesterday. Did I come on? I don't think I did. I did a recording. I don't think I did come on. you get a special late birthday, okay? Because I love you so much. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, belated. Either way, I hope you have many, 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 many more. Happy birthday to you. Panda Bear's mom, I love you so much. I do love you so, so, so much. I'm going to tell you what. Get with me at my email. Get with me at my email, okay? And I'm going to get you a smiley coffee mug, okay? I'm going to get you a smiley coffee mug if you would like that. Somebody drop my email, okay? I'm going to get you a smiley coffee mug. It's not this one. This one is Amazon, but I got my Smiley Stories coffee mug, and I will send you one. I love you, and I hope you had a happy birthday yesterday. I'm sorry I missed it. I'm sorry. All right. Y'all don't be playing around, okay? Anybody else? Don't be playing around that it was your birthday yesterday and I missed, because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Smiley was just in a good mood this morning. Good morning, Millie Beautiful. And let's see, we got Dawn Emery here. Let me go down. Stephanie Williams. Good morning, beautiful. Good morning, Retha Bell. Hello, good morning. You're fine. That's good. I'd rather be early than late. That's fine. That's fine. Other than you having to sit there. Drew K. Hello, good to see you, Drew. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, happy belated birthday to Panda Bear's mom. She worked hard on Devlin Tate's case, and he's still missing, of course. So there's that. I hope I don't miss anybody in here. Let's see, who else have we got? Raymond Thomas. Hey, Raymond, good to see you, Raymond. Salute to you, sir. Salute to you. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you all for being here this Sunday morning. Let's see who else we got. Leslie, keep it real. I think I might have said Retha Bell. If I didn't, hello again. Let's see. I love you all my family. No, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for what you do for Devlin. And thank you for your support. And thank you for everything you do. This is not easy. So thank you very much. I appreciate you. And I hate that I missed that yesterday. Good morning, Sidetrack. Hello, welcome in. So much love to everybody. And happy Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and read real quick this copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use, and balance in the favor of fair use. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of history today and what's going on out there in the news. We'll see a couple of videos. Now, I know I'm old, honey, but how many people have heard about Buford Pusser? And he was called Walking Tall. And if you did, put a 1 in the chat. Just go ahead and put a 1 in the chat, because we're going to be talking about a little bit of history today. And I think everybody's pretty much heard this. They've made a couple of stories, Walking Tall. And, depending on how you looked at it, he was much loved or much hated. He was, it depends. we'll hear a lot. I admired him. I did. I watched it when I was a little girl, the original. Listen, I don't like all these remakes bull crap. Again, I'll refer you back to the original Walking Tall if you didn't see it before. In my opinion, the other Walking Tall that they made, the last one, yeah, well, the one with the rock, I'm going to tell you, Raymond, that one I did not think was anything like the original movie. I mean, nada, nothing, zero. I don't know if anybody in here will agree with me or not, but I like The Rock, but I did not think that was anything like it. So for the ones that are like younger than me or something like that and saw that, I don't think you got the full picture. I just don't. And if that's the first one, if that's the only one you ever saw, then nope, I don't think you got the full picture. Millie's agreeing with me. It's the truth. And I know sometimes these movies are hard to watch when they're old. Hey, chicken lady, hello. I will, Smiley. I said same thing about that movie. Yeah, that movie was zero. To me, it was zero. It was more about, I think, just having him in it and stuff. Honestly, it wasn't even a good remake at all. I mean, really, and I don't usually say that, and I hate to say that, but if you can, go back and watch bits and pieces of the old one. Now, today we're going to watch a lot of things. We're going to do that, but we're going to talk about Walking Tall, The Last Ride. You know, yep, those are my words. The Last Ride, the ambush of Buford Pusser and Pauline Pusser. Okay. But I named this. Also, I did a different thumbnail because of what they're saying now. Walking tall or walking small? Huh. I don't know. I'm going to let y'all be the judge. Everybody can think for themselves and everybody can be the judge. But this is history. It really is. Buford Pusser was a legendary American lawman, and he was best known as the sheriff in McNary County. That was in Tennessee in the 1960s. He became very famous. Very famous. He had fought against organized crime, moonshiners back then, and he fought corruption. Okay? He didn't want corruption. He fought for corruption, against corruption. And some are key points about him was early in his life. He was born in 12. No, he was born December 12th, 1937, in this little place called Finger, Tennessee. Now, personally, I haven't heard of Finger, Tennessee. I did a little research on it. Okay, and it's very, very small. We'll get to that later. But I'm just giving y'all some key points I did some research on. And he did serve in the U.S. Marine Corps, and he briefly did wrestling, which, man, that man had a size shoe 15. I'm not kidding. That's on here. We're going to watch that. He was like 6'6" tall or something like that. I mean, he was a huge man. Huge. You wouldn't want to mess with him. Okay. He was elected sheriff in 1964, but he was just 26 years old. Okay. At that time. And he was one of the youngest people in state history to ever become a sheriff. He gained fame. I don't know why they keep doing that as soon as I get on here, but I'm sorry about these little bells, y'all. He gained fame about talking on the about he took on what they call the Dixie Mafia there. And he took on all the illegal liquor operations. You'd see him go in and out that bar, a lot of stuff, in that movie. And this is what some of the key points were he was known, the best thing he was known for, he really didn't believe in a gun. He carried the stick, walking tall, the man with the stick. He would go in, and if he needed to use that stick, and it wasn't a billy bat, honey. It wasn't a billy bat. But the last ride came in 1967 when his wife, which I think he loved very, very much. That's my opinion. When his wife, Pauline, and him was ambushed in his car. And there was several gunshot wounds. His wife was killed. He was disfigured. He was out of it for a long time. Hello, honey. Hello, hello, hello. Now, again, there were several movies made about it, Walking Tall, and then later the remakes. I'm just going to tell you, it's up to you, but the remakes were nothing like the original. You need to find that original. He died in himself in 1974. And some believe, it may not have been an accident. Some believe that. There's some stuff coming out today about his wife now. But at the time he died, he was only 36 years old. But we're going to talk about why they think he is responsible for his wife's death and the ambush that he was in the car with, right? Today he's remembered as this larger-than-life man. Huge Tennessee history, huge, huge. Everybody knows, if you speak this name, who it is. He was celebrated. They have festivals and stuff up there every year. I don't know how this will cause it to change. I really don't. But all of that came at a great personal price for him. Now, I did look up Finger, Tennessee, and it's a very small town in McNary in the southwestern part of the state. And it's between Jackson, Tennessee, and Corinth, Mississippi, a little bit to the south. And the highways are right off of Route 45 in a major northeast, city in western Tennessee. But here's the point I wanted to make. I wanted to see how many they had. At that time, they had lesser than 400 people there. So that means it was a very tight-knit community, very tight-knit. And so everybody knew everybody, and everybody knew everybody's business. And that's the town Buford Pusser was born and he was raised in, and everybody knew him well. As of 2025, I looked, there's only about, it depends on how you look at it, 275 to 279 residents there today. So a lot of them got the heck out of Dodge. So it just really depends. Now, sometimes you can look it up and it says there will be 600, but 279, 600, hey, who's counting, right? That's a small town. People can smell you when you poop. I'm just saying. Very small town. Very small town. So Buford and Pauline, I think they loved each other. I really do. Pauline was killed in 1967. There was an ambush that took Buford, took her life. And then there was an accident later on that took his life. Okay. So they were just legends. They opened a museum, all the things, all the things. They had a little girl. Her name is Dewana, and she grew up without her mother and her father. Well, she was 13. She was only 13 when he died, and he raised her. She was very little when her mama died. So she really had no memory, or she might have had a little bit of memory. They kept her memory alive. Hey, Cinderella. Everybody coming in of her mom, but sadly, she too passed away in 2018. She was only 57 years old. So they just had one child. Dewana was her, and she devoted her entire life. She devoted to opening the museum, to going out publicly speaking, about her mom and her dad and all kinds of things, keeping things alive. See, back in 1959, that's when Buford and Pauline got married. And then their marriage lasted until 1967, when she was tragically killed by an ambush. So either way you look at it, yes, she was killed. But the point is, now they're trying to say Buford set it up. And that's sad. It's extremely sad. Buford was severely wounded. Very, very badly wounded. And all those things. By everything that's been said, they were a very close-knit family. Very close-knit. But Pauline wasn't the target. She was never the target. Personal reasons, maybe. I don't know. But she was killed because Buford's fight against organized crime is what was always told. Okay? That's what was always said. And then Dewana made a book and memoirs, and that's their daughter. Dewana always described her parents as loving and very close. And again, she devoted much of her life to honoring them. She honored both of them. There were rumors, there were hardship, but the police still stood behind him. They say, and his friends, we're going to see in some of these videos and some of these interviews, different people that's opening up, talking, just random people at the gas station. One lady says she thinks everybody in McNary thinks that Buford was guilty. I mean, I don't know. Everybody can have their opinions. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I was just being born in 67. Well, dang, I just told y'all my age. But the fact is, I even know about this story, in and out. And I don't know, something always drew me to this story. I don't know. I've probably seen the original Walking Tall. I've seen the other one. I couldn't even sit through it, to be honest. That's how bad I didn't like it. But everybody's got their own thing. But I understand it's for the newer generation and stuff. And I don't sit through a lot of movies over and over again. But I watched this when I was a little girl. I watched it many, many times throughout the years. The only thing I haven't been, and I was planning on, was going there. I may not be able to go there now because all of this is going on. She was a beautiful woman, Retha. Very beautiful. Absolutely. I think she was. But something about back then, I don't know what was in the DNA and stuff, but if you look at all the pictures and everything, honey, people back then was just beautiful and handsome, and they really was. They really was. And the pictures are beautiful. Excuse me. But he had a dangerous job. He had a lot of pressures. And think about just carrying that stick, right? That's what he used, his hands and his stick. But again, he was so big, y'all. But nobody didn't want to be messing with him. Not even the mafia. They didn't want to mess with him. And he was just crazy like that, if that's what you want to call it. Whenever he walked into the bar, they would shut the hell up, honey. Everybody would stop talking. You could hear a pin drop. Before we ate. Yeah. Some friends of Pauline said, though, back then, they worried for her safety. And they wished that Buford would have quit the law enforcement, but that was never going to happen. It just wasn't. And Pauline, I guess she didn't really feel she was unsafe, Yes, 6 foot. He was 6'6" tall. Gosh, y'all, imagine that. 6'6" tall. And that's a lot. That's big. And how much did he weigh, Millie? It was 200 and it was really in the middle or further towards 300s. And he wore a size 15 shoe. He wore a 15 shoe. You did it. It's okay, Millie. We know. It's okay. So, yeah, he was 6'6". Well, I think they were going to say it in one of these videos that I got up. They will say it. He was enormous. Everybody was scared of him. Enormous. Can y'all imagine? Now, Buford was never suspected at that time by law enforcement causing Pauline's death because in the very beginning, investigators treated the ambush, it was an ambush, as an attack on Buford himself, not Pauline, not his family, just on Buford. Because of the war on organized crime, Pauline was seen just as collateral damage at the time. And she was killed just because she was in the car with him, wrong place, wrong time. That's how it's always been. So why that suspicion didn't stick? I mean, there was people that did talk back then, but he was pretty much disfigured himself, and he was hurt himself. Sorry, I'm taking a drink of my coffee. But a lot of people, they didn't believe it. Hey, Justice for Emmanuel and Promise. Hello. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Thank you for being here. But her injuries were so severe, and I mean, his injuries were also so severe. They were lifelong. So he had a lot of surgeries, and nobody thought he did anything. He almost died himself. So they were talking about the Dixie Mafia right there at the state line. They had motive to do it. He'd been shot, attacked, targeted before. It was nothing new. They were always trying to target Buford. Always. And then he had his grief when his wife died. I mean, he was literally for real grieving. Now, if it comes out he did this, well, then I guess he really, really, really had remorse. We're talking about Walking Tall, Buford Pusser, and his wife that was killed today, Justice, because they're now saying that they think he set up and staged the ambush, and that's what got his wife killed. And I don't know. I don't know. We're going to watch some videos. Again, there was many conspiracies, a lot of whispers over the years. People has done this story. There's one man I will see in here that has stayed on this forever and a day. Look, I just want to know, and it's just me, okay? I know closure because I know Pauline still has some family, maybe I think a brother still living. Okay, so I know everybody involved in this personally does want to know what happened. But, you know, nobody, if he was alive, never really said anything or went up against him or anything like that. See, what's happening today, it's coming out in the news, and they say if Buford was alive today, because see, they dug her up and everything. They say if Buford was alive today, they would indict him on this, which is very shocking. I'm on the fence because I say, well, everybody's dead. The only child, Buford, the wife, all this stuff. Why not let sleeping dogs lie? I mean, I know the truth has to come out, and this is history, so it definitely has to come out. But the TBI, they were taking something, and they got all in on this case. But it kind of makes me mad because I think, why not let sleeping dogs lie? The TBI just recently can go and pull up all this information and work on this case, and the TBI can do all of this, but we got Summer Wells missing, and we got Sebastian Rogers missing, and we got things going on now out here now, and families are still alive. So, in my opinion, I just say, why not let sleeping dogs lie? That's just me. Am I wrong? Maybe. Maybe I am. There's never been no credible evidence that ever suggested Buford was involved in Pauline's death until people kept digging and digging and digging and digging and digging, and then they dug her up, and then talk started, and then now they say they got proof, because, again, it's just very strange. They were in 1967, and here's too what I like to know. In 1967, Buford Pusser had become notorious on the war against the mafia, the Dixie Mafia, the moonshiners. He would always go up in them hills, catch them, and sometimes, he'd turn an eye, but he didn't like, he'd make them get rid of it and all the things, gambling, all that stuff he was against. He was against it. And he had raided dozens of illegal places and all that kind of stuff. The morning of the attack, see, this is what gets me. The morning of attack, it happened near New Hope Road out in McNary County, Tennessee. Buford got this call, which there was always somebody wanting Buford dead, okay? Always. But Buford got this call, and it was early morning, and it was about a disturbance that was going on. So he left his home in his car, and his wife, Pauline, went with him. I have to ask, so why would she go with her husband? And I'm sure some of y'all are asking that too. Well, there has been rumors that they had a little tiff or something happened that day, and she just wanted to go with him, and she got up and went with him. Basically, that's the bottom line. I guess back then it just didn't matter. He was the sheriff. He could do what he wants and take who he wants. If she wanted to go, okay, well, hurry up, let's go. Somebody was there that was watching the baby. Dewana was a baby at the time. But then, as they drove down this rural road, the gunman opened all holy hell on them, on that car. They knew it was Buford's car coming down there. Pauline was struck and killed instantly. Okay, so they say she didn't suffer. She was killed instantly. Buford was hit in the face. He was hit in the jaw by a shotgun blast. And he had lots of surgeries, injuries, all the things. He had to stop working for a while. But somehow, despite the blood loss that he suffered and the shock he had, people's body goes into shock, he managed to crawl out of that car and survive, right? They named some people in the mob, Dixia. Let's say the mob, in the Dixia. Dixie, not Dixia, Dixie mob. Lord have mercy. That surfaced, and I don't even know to this day, do I want to name them? It don't really matter, but I guess Carl White, Kirksey Nick, and they just blamed it on them. That's just what I'm saying. But Buford required multiple surgeries to reconstruct his face. He suffered dearly physically. He was scarred, and emotionally, they said he was devastated by his wife's death. He claimed, everybody claimed he became even more determined at that point. He was pissed off. He was more determined to fight organized crime, using the ambush to fuel his get up and go, if that's what you want to say. So we're going to watch a couple of things, and then now y'all can see where we're kind of going with this, and what people were saying, because it was a lot. And it's still going on. And just as recent as a couple of weeks ago, they pulled this out. Hold on. Let's see here. We're going to watch this one first. This was Fox 17.
Test.
I'm not the TBI and I'm not the police and all that, but I'm just curious. That's all. I'm curious like everybody else. Hey, this is a story that made history. So, but I'm just wondering, I don't know what y'all are thinking. It may be too early to think, but why would he do all that and then shoot himself in the jaw, not knowing if he would live or die, and go through all the things that he went through? I'm just curious about that. That's just my opinion. I call distraction, allegedly, in my opinion. This state is broke. Yeah, exactly. And again, we all want justice where justice needs to be served. But there really, if you think about it, is not going to be justice right now. They can sit there and say, oh, TBI's taking over. They can ruin the history and say, Buford did do this to his wife. Okay, great, fine. What will that do? Just make people talk? Will it shut down the museums? The daughters did. I mean, I don't get it. Why the TBI, and it's just me, but the way I think, out there, or others searching for any missing kids that's missing in Tennessee, putting all of this effort into doing that. That's just my opinion. Other than saying it and saying what you would do now. Well, we're 58 years later. What difference does 58 years later make? Go to the brother that's alive or whatever and say, look, this is what we think happened, if it happened, and give him his closure. I don't know. But this is weird, if you ask me. That's my opinion. I'm sorry.
To replicate, like,
See, I agree. Don't it make you distrust the TBI even more now? I'm serious. I mean, what is going on here? When this first come out, this was for Emmanuel's case broke, and I was so busy I was going to do this story then, but I didn't have a chance. But I even heard Nancy Grace, man, she was like, what the hell? I mean, we're all shaking our heads. And he's talking about priorities. What about these other in Tennessee that's literally missing, abused, gone, murdered, and begging for TBI's help and all the thing going on? This is just what I don't understand. They just show to me their true colors, every time they speak, in my opinion. Yeah, what about Summer Wells, Sebastian Rogers? What about those people? I'll tell you what about Mr. Brewer? I can't think of his first name right now. He was a cop and he went missing. The last place he was saw on the bank in Tennessee, one of my friends I went to school with, that, or two of them, that was their dads, so what about them? He was actually one of them at one time, but that was to me like a cover up. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Okay, I'm back. Let's go. Just my opinion. This is just me. I could be totally wrong. Again, I don't know. I could be totally wrong. Unless it's just the mafia they're worried about, what's left of them. But, okay, think about this for a second. I might just be crazy. I mean, people think I'm stupid anyway, but you got 58 years later, you got Buford's dead now from an accident. You got the only child that they had is dead now. That's all that, everybody's pretty much dead. We're talking 58 years later. Now, the reason that I stopped this is because him, ahead of the TBI, why was he talking about he's going to put out papers and they got to redact all this stuff? Well, let me just ask you a question. What are they hiding, in my opinion? Why redact it now? Fuck, everybody's dead. What difference does it make? You're trying to say this happened 58 years ago. Nothing you could do about it if he was alive. Well, if there ain't no ifs, there ain't no turning back time. Why redact anything? That I'm just wondering. They're so worried about history. How about stop going back, changing the history books? How about that? I mean, are y'all serious right now? I can't believe this press conference. Listen, that's just me. A waste of time, money, resources. Let's see. If I live in Tennessee, I would be mad at the yes, actually, I agree. I mean, people should be angry. I don't even know. 50. We got other things going on y'all got other things going on in Tennessee. Just saying. I'm not being mean and I'm not being cruel, because y'all know I'm for the victim no matter what. And, even if Summers or Sebastian or whoever takes 50 years, God, let's hope not. But I don't know with this Tennessee people here. But again, I'm not trying to be cruel. I feel for her brother. I am glad her brother got closure. Her brother knew her, was with her and stuff. I might be mistaken that he's the only living relative. What I mean by that is close. What I want to say and why I stopped it is because they keep saying, we talked to family members, we did this, we did that. Well, guess what? Those family members are probably my age, which is the year I was born. Those family members probably didn't even know neither one of them. None of them. They just know, oh, I have this name in my generation. So I don't understand what all this is for. I'm just saying. But you got to remember, these cousins, these blah, 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 they didn't know Pauline. They didn't know their daughter and their only child, and they didn't know Buford. Now, her brother might, but they didn't. So you got to think about that. What in the hell are they talking about? So that part I don't get, but that's Fox 17 News over in Nashville. And of course they're just reporting on the news, but shoot, I just deleted something. I don't know what it is. Okay. There we go. All right. So there's that. But, y'all got to remember, this case destroyed a whole family back then, and now most all of them are gone. It's really sad. And what is the point after nearly 6 decades? After nearly six decades, the story about an ambush of a sheriff who fought crime, who did a lot of good there, who took on the mafia, who fought corruption, who was hurt, who all the things, I don't know, but I guess the truth is harder. And the truth really does belong to Pauline. She was a person. She wasn't just a character in this movie, right? So I guess the truth is the truth, but we got to really find out, is this the truth? And what's the point now? That's my point. Let's watch. I got something else to watch here too. Hold on.
Epic guess.
I'm only going to watch
and
a little
the
of
more
this one.
viewers that I get on here, the better it is, and then they get more of a viewership out there, and they're more interested in coming on. So that's all I ask, is just please consider that. So also, if you're interested in getting some merch, Phyllis has gotten a few things. She sent me some pictures of the stuff that she's gotten, and I know others have as well. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It goes to a good cause. and I appreciate it. And you can go to the KGRA digital broadcasting website, and you can check out what is available for Jason White.
This case
and
for
you can go into that,
time,
and you can see what show products are available for this, from mouse pads to coffee cups to,
I find it interesting.
I mean, sweatshirts, hats, things like that. And they're, for the most part, I really like everything that's there. And some of the glasses are really, forgive my language, but badass. And I need to get those shipped to my house right away because they're really cool.
Hit that thumbs up.
Thank you, Phyllis. I'm glad you're loving the cups. And we love that you love the cups. And they look like good quality things. So good. So let's get everybody on here. Everybody, come on. Amanda, throw them on, and let's just bring them onto the screen. We got Danny Couples, Mike Elam, and Dennis Hathcock are joining us. Thanks for being here, guys. I really do appreciate you very much.
Glad to be on.
Glad to be here.
Good to be here.
I will give a little bit of an intro for Dennis, because Dennis, he hasn't been on the show tonight, and he's somebody that I'm really excited about having on here. And he's got an interesting life in and of itself. I mean, he's one of those guys that for his lifetime, he's basically been driving those coaches that drive around famous country stars all over the country.
I just made something
I think Danny told me Winona Judd is one of them. Little Big Town, Eric Church, George Jones, and he's been with some of these country artists for years. And that's pretty neat. So I'm a huge music fan. That's real cool. So thanks for being here, Dennis. I think your story is amazing as well. And in large part, you're kind of a hero for stepping up in all these years and telling the truth. So Amanda, throw on that news story if you can. We don't get any sound on it, so we'll get to that in a quick second. So here's the deal. Last Friday, I have to give kudos to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the Tennessee Attorney General for coming on. They made an announcement that they had reviewed. They did an exhaustive examination of the evidence in reference to the Pauline Pusser murder that happened August the 12th, 1967. And in doing so, during their examination, they found in their conclusion that if Buford Pusser was alive today, that they would file charges for murder in reference to, well, they would basically try to get an indictment, secure an indictment. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they would have filed it. I think they do it a little different there in Tennessee. And so basically, most of everything that they were talking about in that press conference, this is stuff Mike's been talking about for the last few years. And so, but I do want to give them a big shout out, because I was incredibly impressed with their press conference. I thought that it was very well done. I thought that they were very forthcoming with a lot of the information. And to tell you the truth, I got to give props to Mike Elam, because I think without Mike Elam jumping on this case when he did, that announcement would have never been made. There's just no doubt about it. And he's modest, and he's going to say that it's not about him, etc. But I think that everybody in this room would agree that Mike Elam's efforts in this particular case, not to mention his book right there behind me, I want you to look at after we're done here, basically has opened a lot of eyes in this particular case. I need
somebody to help me write a book.
And I think that really put some pressure on. So let's start off with, hey, Mike, you go to this press conference. Tell us what you had expected before you got there, and did you have any idea that they were going to say what they said?
I really had a good idea. Of course, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation doesn't share information with anyone. I contributed a lot of information to them, and I felt like it was indeed a major step into getting this back on track. But I was expecting them to do just about exactly what they did. So I wasn't at all surprised when 25th Judicial District Attorney General Mark Davidson got up there and said everything he did, it was golden.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I'm a little bit surprised about on the entire press conference, honestly, was that they didn't make mention of you by name, because really I think everybody that was in that room, they knew where this is coming from. I mean, basically, you started on this journey. Tell us about how you started on this journey anyway, just to remind the audience about, you were kind of dealing with the COVID time, and you were really interested in just looking into this particular case.
Yeah, this is a story that I've been interested in for a couple of decades, a little bit better. As a matter of fact, I met Dennis in 2005 over there after we'd had several lengthy telephone conversations about all this. But I got interested in it. It was kind of an interest, and it became a hobby. Then it became a cold case, and it became a mission trying to determine who actually killed Pauline.
I don't know about that. I could probably write it, but I need somebody to help me.
The backstory behind it.
Boy, do I have, I could do it on my life alone, and it would be.
Gathered all this information. I have a Facebook page that I use as a fishing hole. And, you know, I would discuss all these things, and I was a little surprised by how many people come out and started telling me bits and pieces of the story that they knew. And it was like a big game of connect the dots. Nobody knows the entire story, I don't believe. But after about 6 years, I had an individual that he'd been listening to me for about 6 years. And he gave me a call one time and said, I believe I may have the gun that was used to kill Pauline. And I thought, I've heard that story at least a dozen times, but I always ask, because you never know when you're going to stumble into something big. And sure enough, his story just checked a lot of boxes. So we talked him into calling the TBI, or allowing me to call the TBI, informed them of the gun. They came out, picked it up. And that's when the investigation got started. However, I did write my book back in self-published, and got it out there in 2020. So a lot of the story's been told and has been out there for 5 years. It just took finding the gun to get the TBI interested in reopening everything or taking another look at it. It was never a closed case. But I had to have cancer surgery in 2020. Found out in late 2019 that I had cancer. Went through radiation, chemo, had the surgery in January. And of course, COVID came around in February of 2020. And doctors basically told me, you know, you can't get around anyone, because if you get COVID, you're gone. So I'm sitting here at the house, nothing to do, and all my people on Facebook started encouraging me to write the book, which I did. And so after that, you know, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation contacted me after they picked up the gun, asked if I had any other information that I could share. And I said, sure, how much do you want? And things got rolling.
Yeah. What this individual, and you're not going to name him, and I'm sure that he's going to be redacted from any reports, I would assume. But this individual that contacted, if not, if his name's out there.
Actually, his name, there's not going to be any names redacted. They're all going to be out there. And this is only the second time that they've ever done this, where they just open up the file to everyone.
That's not what I got.
The only thing that they are redacting is any personal information that could be used in identity theft about anybody that's, out there that has contributed information that's still with us. So that's going to be.
That would make sense.
That's saying something. I mean, that's being very transparent, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if some of this stuff has all of this stuff already ended up out there already. Or are they still working on
right now. Right now, it's at UT Martin.
They're coming up with that, I guess.
And they're in the process of digitizing it all, and they're going to put it out in both hard copy. But people in just a very short time. I don't know exactly how long, but it won't be long at all before you can get a digitized copy of the files and read all 1,000 plus pages and to your heart's content. I think what I find interesting is, people will have no idea how much I went through to get to all this. So there's an interesting backstory that I have in that light, just everything I had to deal with to get the information that I got and turned over. So
yeah, and what he's and I know you're going to get and you're going to get to some of that too, because it's not all good either. The one thing that I'm interested in with respect to specifically the gun, what was his version of how he ended up with the gun, and was he told anything about it?
His dad and Buford knew each other, and therefore the morning of the ambush, before that they took Buford to Memphis, he got a hold of this individual and asked him to go to Sibley's Chevrolet, where the car had been towed to, and it was placed inside the shop to protect it. This individual managed to, and I don't want to tell all the story here because, just tell
what you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, this individual went and got all the guns out of the trunk of Buford's car, and for some reason he decided to keep this particular gun. And years later, he passed it along to his son. And as the son heard the story, he began to get more and more suspicious about the gun, wondering why his dad had kept this particular gun of all of them that were in Buford's car. And it matched the information that I'd put out there about it being a M1 carbine. When I went over as soon as he contacted me, I got in the car, drove over there. It's 465 miles for me to get over there, but I got over there, shot the gun, took photographs of it. I have another friend that I won't say who he is that managed to run the serial number for me so we could find out, all the background.
He won't say who it is, but all the names are going to be out there. That makes a lot of sense.
From the Air Force of all places. And the individual who did that was O'Neill Moffitt, the son of the chief deputy of McNary County. And he was told that, for instance, story is there that the Air Force was phasing out M1 carbines and going to the M14. And O'Neill and a few others that were on this detail were just told the guns were to be disposed of. And so O'Neill decided he'd help them out and took a few of them and took them back home to McNary County and were selling them. And Buford ended up with more than one, we'll say that. And then O'Neill realized he was in trouble when the Air Force started to inventory all the guns that were supposed to have been turned in. And Buford helped him get out of that mess to a great degree. He still had to go to federal court, all this, but nothing serious happened to him. And O'Neill actually turned out to be a criminal investigator for the sheriff's office in McNary County a few years later. So it all turned out good for him. But the gun, you follow the chain of possession, it does go back to Buford.
And I think this is a good part for Dennis to jump in, because I want to take Dennis back to the night before this happened. And I've heard you talk about this, and I think this is a good time. You were 16 years old at the time, and you were with a friend. I think it was it Johnny Morrison is the name?
Harrison.
Oh, Harrison. Okay. Yeah. Tell us about the night before when you were kind of kind of watching him and tailing the good sheriff?
Well, I get asked a lot about why was we doing it. Well, live in a little bitty town. There wasn't much to do, so that became kind of like a hobby, was to watch Buford Pusser and see who he was taking out that night and who he was meeting and what woman he was going out with and all that. So he had a place that was at Eastview that he would meet a lot of the women that he would leave with. And so that particular night, we were sitting there watching it was a big pile of, I don't know if you know what chirp is and gravel, but it's like gravel. And my grandfather worked for the state of Tennessee for the Department of Transportation, and I knew there was a little building there. I'd hide my motorcycle behind it and climb up on top of this, and I'd watch him and see who he was meeting. And well, that particular night, he met this girl that he met probably more than any of them. And so me and Johnny was sitting up there, and they had a little deal they'd go through. She'd pull in, and he'd drive around. It was a little park, a little state park, little small state park. It had some picnic tables. And anyway, he would drive around, she'd drive around. They'd try to make sure nobody wasn't around. Then they'd meet. Sometimes he'd get in the car with her, and she'd get in the car with him.
Be careful,
but it didn't happen that night.
Hanging around and all that.
She pulled in, and he pulled up, and immediately he told her, "Get the hell out of here. I mean, get out of here right now. I don't want to see you. Get out of here right now." Well, I mean, it was about 12 o'clock, midnight, or probably after that. And of course, there wasn't any, you could hear every word that was said. So she took off in her car, and when she went to leave, there was another car that was coming across the highway from right down toward Raymer. That's a little old town that's down there close. Anyway, they almost hit head on. I mean, just a miracle they didn't hit head on. Well, she turns and goes back towards Selmer, and that car comes on into that little park. Pusser pulls down beside it, backs up beside it. That car, they open the trunk on the two cars. They take the weapons out of one car and put them over another in the trunks. Then they slammed the trunks. They didn't say anything hardly to each other. Pusser got in the car. He left. The other car left. It took off back across the highway there down the road that goes to Raymer. He turns and heads back towards Selma. I told Johnny, I said, he's going back up there to, well, in the book it says Lady A. I don't want to say her name. She's still alive and around, so I don't want to say her name, but a nice person. But, we were all young at one time.
Yeah, seriously.
Anyway, so we get on the motorcycle and take off and head up that way. Well, sure enough, when we got up there sat his car in front of not her house. She lived with her parents. But across the little street they lived on was two more houses that belonged to her dad that were rent houses. Well, the girl that went with Petey Plunk lived in one of them. So that's where she had gone over there to that house when she got there. Well, I didn't know at the time, but I have found out. She was in the car laying down in the seat. And that's what Buford had got mad about. It's because she was in the car. And I just recently found that out. I didn't know that at the time. So anyway, he was outside beating on the door.
So we're just
saying, let me in, let me in, let me in.
I'm not
and, me and Johnny had gone to a place that was not very far from the house, and you could see everything that was going on there and hear every word that was said. So anyway, and here's the kicker to the whole thing. He was on the side of the house beating and saying, let me in, let me in. Tomorrow you'll be putting flowers on my grave. And hell, we listened to it. We didn't know what he was talking about. Nobody else knew what he was talking about. He kept saying that, let me in. Well, finally, they let him in. He stayed in there probably, 20 or 30 minutes and came back out. And when he came back out, he had a hold of this girl that he was supposed to have been meeting down there, her arm, dragging her across the little old street over there. And she was trying to twist away from him and get away from him. And as she told me one time, if he had been his normal self, there's no way she could have twisted away from him. But he was high on something. She said she didn't know. He drank vodka and chased it with 7-Ups. That was his drink. And anyway, I don't know if he's drunk or up on pills or what. But anyway, she twisted away from him and started running toward her house and ran and got in the house, and in the process ran into a clothesline and literally, like to cut her head, it cut a big gash in her throat there where she hit the clothesline. But anyway, she got in the house. Well, he about halfway followed her, and then he turned around before he actually got to her house, and he went back to his car and got in it and started racing the engine and pulled out on the street there and was squalling.
I'm just wondering if the detective is sitting there buying this bullshit. I'm just wondering. And why is his face covered? I don't know. This is Front Porch Talk gossip. This is not bring it to YouTube. You're going to get other people freaking, I don't know. Yeah, I know why he's got his face covered. Never mind. Just saying.
Tires and doing all that crazy mess. And then he came back, went up the street, turned around, came back down. I bet he was running 80 mile an hour on that little bitty narrow street. So I told Johnny, I said, come on, let's go. And so we was on the motorcycles and we left, and there's a hill there, and we could see what he had done. He had gone and turned into, it's a gas station that was right in the middle of town that stayed open all night. It was a Phillips 66 gas station. And that's where he usually bought gas. And he turned in there, and we let the motorcycle run and cut the engine off so he couldn't hear it, and rolled up there pretty close. He got out of the car, went into the gas station there, and the restrooms was right up front. He went in the restroom, stayed in there a minute or two, came back out, picked up the phone that was between the men's and women's restroom was a telephone there. He picked it up and made a phone call. I have no idea who he called or whatever, but he made a phone call.
I don't think they had 24
hours. When he did that, he walked back out to the car, and the guy that was putting gas in his car, his name was Shorty McDaniels, and he told him to hurry up and get through, and he jerked the thing out of the spout there, and Buford Pusser jumped in the car and took off wide open sideways and all that, and headed toward Adamsville. Well, at that time it was about I'm just guessing. I didn't look at my watch or anything, but I'm saying it was 2:30, between 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I just thought, well, he's going back to Adamsville. And shoot, at that time of the morning, I needed to be back at home.
Now give me some thumbs up now.
So did Johnny. So
and we'll move on.
We just took off. When Johnny had left his car at my house, he got in his car and went home. I went in, went to bed.
How many thumbs up we got, Millie?
My granddaddy, my grandfather that I was living with then, I stayed with them part of the time. He come in there and woke me up. He got up about 5 o'clock in the morning because he had to be at work at 6, and he was normally up by 5 o'clock. He come in there and told me, he said, Dennis said, wake up. That crazy Johnny's in here on the phone. And I said, what does he want?
I can't help
I just left him.
I'm thinking these old men
I got up, went in there, and finally got on the phone. I said, what is it, Johnny? He said, they've somebody's ambushed Buford and they killed Pauline, and they don't think he's going to live.
All right, we're good.
They're taking him on his way to Memphis. I said, oh, bull crap. There's no way. It hadn't been an hour and a half or 2 hours since we saw him. He said, I'm telling you, that's happened. I said, well, how did you know that, Johnny? And he said, one of the deputies came by and woke his dad up, beating on the door, and told his dad that it had happened.
With her. And then one of those situations where they took a convoluted route to get down to the state line area, each other. And she was waiting outside the house. She was afraid to go in when she took Pauline there. Said, you know, Pauline invited her in, and she just made the comment that, well, here, let me catch something here. There we go. Invited her in, but she said she was so afraid of Buford that she did not want to go in the house, and said, I'll just park a ways down and you flash your porch light on or something like that. Give me a signal and I'll drive up there and I'll pick you and the kids up and all your belongings. We can get them in the car and we can be gone. Pauline had been staying at some point at a motel in Savannah, which is not but a short distance from Adamsville. At any rate, well, you know, that's when she said she heard a gunshot come from the house and she didn't know what to do. She couldn't call the sheriff's office because Carl Pusser would be the one to take the call. She couldn't call her husband because she knew that Petey and Buford were just as tight as they could be, and that if Buford was in some kind of trouble, that Petey would probably lie to help him get out of trouble, and therefore he could get in trouble himself. So she said, I left. I went home. I was trying to decide what to do, who to contact. She said, because Buford had half the law enforcement people fooled and the other half were afraid of him. And so while she's sitting there, she said, Petey called home and said, well, Pauline just got killed in an ambushment for Buford. And she told me that was, I knew that was a lie.
Oh my God, I forgot I was on mute.
But,
yes, absolutely.
At any rate, then an associate of ours, Arnie Hardy, who was chief of police up in Continental Ohio, you know, when he spoke with Diane, and he'd gone down to the Pusser restaurant and said he ran into Diane there. Diane worked there for Duana, and he made the comment, I'm sorry about what happened to your mom, all this and that. And she said, well, who do you think killed my mom? And he said, well, I think it was Buford. And she thanked him and told him that was her thoughts. That then she said the reason why is that she heard the door, said she heard a pop. She described the gunshot as a pop. And said she heard the front door open, and she looked out the window and saw Buford, as Dennis described, half carrying, half dragging Pauline out to the car, put her in the front seat, came back, and she told Arnie that I thought he was coming back for me. And said he got about halfway to the house, he stooped down, picked up Pauline's shoes, and took them over to the car and placed them in the floorboard. And you know how you'll pick up a pair of shoes with one hand and set them down. That's exactly what they appear to have been like, for at least for me. And as opposed to the way that a woman kicks her shoes off whenever she's in the car going to take a leisurely ride. One thing I'm terribly interested in, I've never mentioned this before. I'd like to know if Pauline had her purse with her, because a woman never leaves and goes anywhere without her purse, it seems like, or at least my wife doesn't. I'm not sure what your guys' wives are like.
I wish I don't carry mine on.
At any rate, Diane said that was the last time she saw her mom was when Buford drove off with her. And then one of those situations where they took a convoluted route to get down to the state line area. You know, Carl and Buford's story became that, well, there was a call that came in and that the sheriff's office about some kind of a disturbance. It originally started out, as Buford would tell it, that it was at Hollis Jordan's beer joint, which is about a mile north of the state line on 45. And but for some reason, instead of driving 2 blocks and getting on Highway 64 and then going into Selmer and taking Highway 45, he took this, like I say, a convoluted combination of back roads to get down to.
Wait a minute. Whose grandson is, oh, you said probably. You said just kidding. Honey, I was fixing to say, hold up here. Y'all got me like, I'm like, what? I'm like, I missed that one, honey. I'm like, oh, please don't. Look, Buford will roll over in his freaking grave. I'm just saying. Jesus. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Gotcha.
New Hope Road and go to the state line. It was a little bit shorter than the route that he could have taken, but Buford had a habit of really driving fast. He was in several accidents, as a matter of fact. And
now that part's true,
but
honey.
For some reason that night, apparently, I think it was to avoid going through any place that might be populated, since he had Pauline in the car in the state that she was. I believe that's the reason he took that route. And it's suspicious to me also because how would an ambush party know to wait for him on this back roads route to get down there? You know, I do a couple of tours.
I'm confused. What does he mean? How does an ambush know to wait for him on that road? Because that's probably the road they knew he would take if they called. I'm just saying. Again, I'm not taking up, or I'm not the police, or I didn't dig the grave and I don't have the evidence. But I'm just listening to the story, honey, just like y'all. What do they mean? How do they know he would go that way? Do y'all know how small that town was? And do you know if they planned that on him? They had no idea his wife was going to jump in the car that night. And they probably knew which way he would be coming. It was probably a road he traveled all the time. And they probably got called him and told him of whatever was going on was that road that he had to travel. What does this guy mean? And I'm not saying nothing bad about this guy. I'm just saying, why did he say that? Look, honey, I don't know. I just had to stop it when I hear stuff. That's just.
Dennis and I do every year. And that's one of the things we like to do is drive the course that he took that morning. And because people can see it makes no sense that he would have done that. At any rate, he, says that he arrives, passes the New Hope Methodist Church there on New Hope Road, and that he's driving about 50 miles an hour. Now, I might qualify that by saying just a day or so before is when they had overlaid New Hope Road with this layer of chert. And now you also have to keep in mind that Jim Moffitt and Warren Jones established the time of the ambush as being around 4:45. And as you know, it's pitch dark at 4:45 in the morning. But he said they must have pulled out behind him at the church, accelerated, chased him down, and caught up with him, and that they fired a couple of shots at the bridge, and that Pauline, according to his stories, that he would tell the media that Pauline was hit in the head. She was only wounded, that she was gasping for breath, leaned over against him, that he claimed that her weight, he couldn't get to his firearm, but he would cross draw, so he wore his gun on the left side, which made no sense to me that he couldn't get to his gun. And he said he just accelerated and he lost him. And he stopped down near Davis Yancey Road, the intersection that it has with New Hope, just shy of the intersection. And he's pulled over to check on Pauline. Now, I don't know why he would have thought that he would have lost him in just 2 miles. But at any rate, he said he started to get out of the car. He opened the door, had 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot still in the car, and they pulled up right beside him. And that the gun came out. He was hit by one of the first shots that was fired and hit him in the chin. Everybody believes that his jaw was blown off, and that's not true. He was just hit in the chin. It was a fairly serious wound when you see it, but nothing like that movie led everyone to believe. But he said he fell over into the floorboard, and that's what saved his life. And said he was unconscious for a little bit, that when he finally came to, raised up, he realized, he grabbed the steering wheel, pulled himself back up behind the seat. He realized Pauline had been hit a second time, he said, and that the car, when he turned and looked out the window, the car was still sitting right there beside him. They'd even turned their engine off, according to him. And he said that he lunged at the car, started to and grabbed the barrel of the carbine, and said the shooter was trying to bolt an ejected shell that would not eject, that the gun was jammed, and he was trying to pull it out of the guy's hands. And finally, they started the car and drove off and pulled the gun out of his hand, which made no sense to me, that a guy who's been an ex-wrestler that's as big as he is now, you know, if the shooter is holding the carbine in his left hand and trying to work that bolt with his right hand, Buford should have pretty easily gotten that out of that one hand. Didn't happen. But in the meantime, the other thing I found suspicious is that Buford was able to describe the shirt as a plaid shirt, went down to about the guy's elbows, could describe his complexion, color of his hair, said he'd never seen the person before. And like Dennis said, even described a car that would have appeared to be WO's.
WO baptize you.
He had a particular interest in Cadillacs, and he refurbished them. And it's my understanding he had sold this one about 2 weeks prior to a dealer, I believe it was, down in Tupelo. And so he didn't even have the car any longer. So I don't know if Buford just assumed, well, I'll throw the Cadillac in there and make it a good story to lead them back to WO. But when they checked it out, found out it shouldn't have been WO's car at all at that time. At any rate, he said that whenever they drove off. He started his engine, and according to the report, says that he drove all over creation, down, looping around all these roads, trying to find the ambush party. And like Dennis said, Pauline's laying dead there beside him, and he's bleeding. And but still yet, he's trying to find him. Well, I don't know what he did during all this time, but they heard a radio call somewhere around 6:10, and Hugh Kirkpatrick, the chief of police in Selma, heard the radio call and knew it was Buford, and knew it sounded like he had been injured. So he went looking for him and found him at McCoy's store there in Adamsville, about 8 miles from the ambush scenes. And he'd pulled over and stopped there. And again, he wasn't supposed to have gotten out of the car, but you notice all the blood on the hood of that car. I think you showed a photo of it a moment ago, and where I've circled all these blood droplets. And as you guys know, I don't know if your audience does, whenever spatter hits a flat surface, it will tail. And that tail, it's kind of like in a way, like a teardrop, and it points to the direction.
I just wonder why the police ain't saying. The detective is not saying much at all.
The red ones are some of the larger spots of blood. The green circle is where Cheryl McCullum, when she looked at the photograph, she says, well, what about the hole in the hood? That looks like a bullet hole. And I'd never noticed it before. I just assumed.
Can I just ask a quick question? And again, hey, I was just being born. I don't even, I only know what y'all know. But look, can I just ask a quick question? If somebody points out and says, hey, what about that bullet hole in the hood? Well, an ambush is an ambush, and, gunfire is going to go everywhere, don't you think? Or am I just losing my damn mind?
Let me stop you right quick, because I want to make a mention of that. Is that, Mike? First of all, I myself and Danny and Cheryl I know that all three of us are incredibly honored that you had actually reached out to the three of us, and each one of us separately has given our opinions based on a lot of the photographic evidence, and I'm sure you've probably talked to other people as well. And sure. I know that all three of us, and Danny, please elaborate further, but I know that all three of us were pretty consistent with one thing, and that was that if they were both in the car during this event, that blood could not have gotten onto the hood of that car. It's not possible through that bullet hole that you can see on the right side of the. You can see that bullet hole on that windshield, and it's just not possible. You can't do it. And I do applaud Cheryl for seeing that bullet hole that's in that green circle. And Danny, talk a little bit about what we're talking about here.
Right. I just like Mike said, blood spatter, the direction, the tail tells what direction the blood come from.
The tail tells all right, but let me tell you this. This is Smiley Story World talking now. Okay, an ambush. Ambush is a surprise attack by people. Not one person, not one. By people lying in wait in a concealed position. They make a surprise attack on someone from a concealed position. The meaning of it is to attack someone by surprise from a hidden place, waylay our troops ambushed in the enemy units. His caravan this season had been ambushed and shot at twice by the way down. I mean, it's not that hard to understand. Just saying. Just saying. In my opinion, if you're ambushed, it could be from 2 or 3 different sides also. I just wonder if they took that into consideration. That's all. Yeah, it's not rocket science. Anyway.
And that's written all over the hood of that car. And it doesn't go with any of the story of what Buford said. One thing, when they announced
what
Buford
happened, was in shock.
Pauline, that's one thing
Buford had lost his mind.
And I disagree with a little bit, but hey, it's over with anyway. I think she was shot in the car, in my opinion, especially after reading the autopsy report yesterday. But all those blood, and there's also blood not only on the hood of the car. If you look around the passenger side of the car, you'll see a blood droplet that was dropped at a 90-degree angle, as someone would be standing there, and it would like drip off of.
Yeah, I know where my bullets go.
It wasn't in the back passenger side door. So all this blood on the outside tells us as investigators, you can elaborate too, Jason, that it doesn't go with what the story said.
No, but the one thing that's interesting to me too, I would like to know, and I hate to armchair quarterback an investigation that took place in the 60s, because if you look at some of these crime scene photos, ladies and gentlemen, and feel free to Google, you can find a lot of stuff online currently, but you'll notice even some of the pictures where there's investigators that are climbing out of that car without gloves on. So individuals weren't necessarily there was one of them that showed a photo of like it showed Buford's handprint on the side of the car. Well, I mean, you can explain that. This is a police car. He's probably been in and out of that thing. However, if there's print over that blood, then that tells part of the story. If there was blood and then there's the ridges of a print over that blood, it's going to show that took place after the event of that blood spatter. But what did exist on this deal that I think is fascinating, and I'm really hoping that the TBI had something to work with here, is back in the day in 1967, they could only tell blood type. And so with that said, both Buford and Pauline had different blood types. And it just depends upon I don't know if they had a habit of swabbing blood back then, but whatever they did, I would hope that they collected some of this stuff. But then again, when you think about it, they didn't even do an autopsy on Pauline at the time, which is absolutely insane to me that did not take place.
Yeah, I believe that Buford probably just bullied his way into there not being an autopsy report. When you saw the photograph of the gentleman looking down on the hood, that's Will Terry Abernathy. He was the district attorney general at the time. And I would think that he would have known what he was looking at.
Absolutely, Janice.
And why that when I interviewed Dr. Jerry Francisco, who would have been one of the people involved in Pauline's autopsy, had there been one performed in 1967, I don't know. It's just one of those things where he said that at the time that the district attorney general and the local medical examiner had to concur on the need for an autopsy, and they said in Pauline's murder, said either one or both apparently didn't want an autopsy performed, so one was never done. And I've heard people say that, well, half the people that were in law enforcement and such were afraid of Buford, and that's the reason I say he may have just bullied his way into saying there's not going to be an autopsy report, and we're going to get her buried. And
I'll add one other thing too, just real quick. Being a cop, and thank God we haven't dealt with this here in Tulsa that not in my career, but being a cop, if a cop's wife was murdered, we're not stopping.
Yes.
Okay. Right. And I don't care what agency you're with. We're looking to find this individual at all cost. And I just don't see that effort on Buford's side following this incident, and that right there in and of itself is telling as well.
We're talking about
can Amanda
years
pull up the picture
ago,
of Buford Pusser holding the gun up standing beside the car. I want to make a point about that. You see that chin? That was just a little over a year after he was shot in that ambush. I mean, to me, if it was like his whole jaw blown off and laying on his chest, they had some really good plastic surgeons back then. But and I've studied a lot of pictures that were later after the ambush, and to me, by looking at that, it does not. Again, it does not look like a high-powered rifle or a rifle was shot toward him and hit him at a direct shot into his jaw. It looks to me like it was shot from that, like he stuck the gun in his mouth and shot out. That's just my opinion from what I see.
Yeah, and I think to a lot of people, if you're sitting there going, well, wait a second, how could he possibly do that?
I mean,
well, when you're looking at the rest of your life in prison, you would be amazed at what people can do, especially if you're a cop. So I'm not really that surprised by that, really. And if you think about it, did it get any of his teeth?
I have a hard time with that.
No. That's the part that amazed me is that
I'm not saying it's not true.
As far as I know,
it
did not damage anything other than his chin. Like I say, in the movie, they indicated that his jaw was blown away, and you will have people that will argue to this day that half his face was shot off, and that didn't happen. The wound basically went down through here. His lip is a little mangled. And you can see where the skin has appeared to me to have been torn. I don't know what
but he took a hell of a
your opinions are.
Life.
But
I don't
in
know.
the press conference, they did comment that it was a close contact shot, and they believed it to be self-inflicted.
Yeah.
So
well, and that tells me that they must have some photographs.
Not the first time he'd ever been shot. Because what I found so suspicious about this as well, the legend has it that he was shot 8 times, stabbed 7 times. And for instance, on January 2nd of 1967, he was said he was stopping a vehicle, that when he walked up, he was shot 4 times. One shot grazed his left arm. One shot grazed his abdomen, and then he claimed he had 2 shots that were to his cheek. And in none of these cases were any of the wounds serious. I mean, you would think, how does somebody get shot here without it causing damage to the tongue, teeth, gums, upper palate? But it was like the shot went in his mouth and came out. And he said that was twice that he was shot in the same spot. That was very suspicious.
Good morning. Hello.
Go ahead.
Hey, Mike, do you mind if I tell Arnie's story as
it's
he
something
told
you don't
me?
Play with. I just can't see it.
Go ahead.
That's
me.
Fine. Can you introduce him one more time before I do it? As far as who he is.
Arnie is now working for a drug task force, but he retired as chief of police in Continental Ohio. So here's a guy that's been around, got lots of experience. But you go ahead with I might also add that Arnie and I met many years ago down there during the weekend that they hold the Pusser Festival. And you know how it is. You guys know this. Law enforcement types like to hang out with birds of a feather to some degree. So we kind of met and made a bond, and that's how I got to know Arnie. Now, Arnie, go ahead with your story.
Okay. First, I'll try to make this quick, Jason. I promise. Arnie and I met this last gathering that we had earlier this year. And but you remember how the story goes? Hey, as Mike just told it about the ambush and Dennis. I was told something that happened in the middle of all that. They got a call to Hollis Jordan's, or is it Old Hickory Club, Mike?
Hollis Jordan's place. It's Jordan's place.
And it was a disturbance call, and that's when Pauline was going to go with him down there, and that's why she was in the car. And you've heard everything that Mike said, and Dennis. Here's a story that Arnie told me yesterday. And this has been known in the TBI, and everybody knows it. Mike's has passed this along as well, but I like to tell it as he told me. He said that when he talked to Diane, when he came down years ago to the restaurant, he said he's got this face that everybody just wants to walk up and talk to him for some reason. It's just this is the way it is. And he said he was down there, and this guy walks up to him, and he knew he was there about Buford Pusser. Just it's his curiosity. I wanted to learn more about Buford Pusser, and so this man walks up and asked Arnie if he could tell him a story. And he said, "Yeah, go ahead." He said, it's a story that happened the night of the ambush. He said, sometime, and I don't know, I'm not good at it. I can't say it perfect. All I can say, it was near closing time for this bar that Buford was supposed to be going to the disturbance call to. And he said he was there at that bar that night. Buford did show up. He showed up. And then when he walked in, he had a rag on his face, like with blood on it. And then the owner of the bar ran everybody out, even him. He said they ran out. And when he went outside, he noticed in Buford's car was Pauline laying, looks like asleep against the passenger side door. And he said he didn't know, what happened after that. So this was in the middle of all that, and that just like even more makes you think this was staged. He probably went there to get help, I'm assuming. In the time, I don't know the time. I'm sure bars. I know back then, Mike, didn't bars close around midnight? But sometimes Buford would let them stay open.
Depends on if you were paying Buford or not.
Yeah, exactly. So. That was just like, Arnie told me that yesterday, and I was like, wow. And then I'm sure this part of the investigation that TBI looked at as well.
Yeah, I guess the only reason that I haven't said a lot about that story, I've mentioned it, but I like to try and verify through a second source most of the stuff that I tell. And a lot of times I'll mention one of these stories hoping that there's going to be somebody else that comes up and says, well, I saw exactly the same thing. But in this case, I haven't had that happen. So that's the only reason that I don't repeat it a lot, because like I say, I have up here, truth has no agenda. And so you like to get everything as out there as correctly as you can.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting story, and it's certainly worth looking at.
No, it is. And I want to thank I want to thank everybody for tuning in here, and this is so riveting.
We'll get to another one in a minute, but full credit goes to Detective Jason White. I don't think they're going to do anything else but sit there and just talk and gossip and guess. But as we know, and again, that's Detective Jason White. He gets full credit for that show, and having those people on, gossip or not. Oh, hold on a minute. Lord have mercy. I'm hitting the wrong thing. Let me get back. Hold on a minute. Let's see comments. Okay. Lord, watch the button. Hey, Sally. Hello. Good to see you. But just let me tell you this. I mean, legends aren't always the truth. And sometimes, the truth is way out there somewhere, but it's far more heartbreaking, than anything they could tell. What is the truth? And again, why not just let the sleeping dogs lie? I understand the brother needs closure and all that. If, there's been talk about this forever and a day, but still, decades, there's been a lot that's been untold about Buford and his wife, Pauline. And there's mostly been the story that they were ambushed by the mob. She was killed in the crossfire, and this was during his fight against crime. He was everybody's hero until evidently he was not. Until evidently TBI and McNary County and I don't know. I mean, people have their thoughts and everybody's entitled to their thoughts and opinions. But why now? I mean, it's crazy. He stood tall against the Dixie Mafia. That sold books and tickets to the museum at the time. But investigators now have reopened this case. They have definitely reopened it. There's no way around that. They said they dug Pauline up. But still, that was even done a couple of years ago. So why now? Why now is all this coming out, especially with TBI? Look, TBI, I'm sorry. We're Sebastian, we're Summer. I'm just saying, they've re-examined the evidence. They say they've exhumed Pauline's body. And, now they're coming out with all this. And they say if, my friend said, if is such a little word, but it has such a big meaning. If he was alive and they would indict him and try to arrest him today. Well, guess what? He's not alive. Neither is their daughter, and neither is Pauline. And most of the family that claims to know or for the family, they're doing it for the family or spoke to the family. Well, guess what? Most of that family, again, didn't even know neither one of them. So what's the agenda? What's the reason now? They say Pauline wasn't killed in an ambush. The forensics say she was shot outside the car and placed inside the car. They say the blood splatter doesn't match. They say it don't match what Buford told. They say his own words turns out to be false according to them. And according to now, this DNA and all that stuff. They say, she carries signs of past abuse. Okay, so now they're bringing domestic violence and past abuse in it. She had a broken nose. That healed long before her death. So how do we know? Did he break that nose? Or how do we know how it was broke? I don't know. I don't know if that's what they're trying to say. But if Buford was alive today, just like they said in the press conference, just like TBI said, and now they're out there saying on these streets that if he was alive today, prosecutors say he would likely be indicted for murdering his own wife. I don't know, y'all, honey. I don't know. Oh, you're welcome, Dawn. I think this is a very fascinating story, like I said. This is what we do know. We know that her story deserves to be told. And she wasn't just the sheriff's wife. She was a human being. She was a mother. She was a sister. And I do feel sorry for her brother. But for 58 years, her name was tied to a mob ambush they say now never happened. They say it never happened. But did it or did it not? All right, let's watch another one. I don't think it'll be as long as the other ones. Let's watch this. And this will be the last one. This is Channel 2 News.
Served as sheriff of McNary County from 1964 to 1970. But he wasn't just any sheriff. He was a lawman of legends.
Hold on,
in fact, Hollywood took films about him single-handedly busting prostitution, gambling, and illegal distilleries along the Mississippi-Tennessee line. The 1973 movie Walking Tall, starring Joe Don Baker, shows Pusser slinging a big wooden stick to fend off criminals and maintain law and order in his small town.
The man accused of executing four...
No. Oh, my God. No, 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 no. No, no, no. I pushed the wrong button. Frick, frack, frock. Frick, frack, frick, frack. Give me a minute. Where is News 2? Hold on. Where is News 2? That's the press conference. Y'all just hold on a minute. Y'all just hold your horses. No, we don't want that one. Hold on. Hold on. Oh my God. Hold on a minute. Shit. Hold on. Let's see. What'd I do with it? I know good and well. I give up, man. Hold on a minute. I got it. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know what happened to it. And I don't know why it wasn't speaking, but we're going to watch it. Hopefully it'll speak now. Hold on. We'll see.
Gunfire. The way the story has gone for years, the couple was ambushed while out on an early morning drive. The shooters were believed to be aiming for Buford Pusser, but missed and mistakenly killed his wife. For decades, rumors swirled around who killed Pauline and whether Buford played any role in his wife's death. An autopsy was not done on Pauline's body then. But now, 58 years later, the results of a new investigation have come to light. Pauline Mullins Pusser's body was exhumed, and today the TBI releases new information on the murder of Pauline Pusser. In 1967, the sheriff told investigators someone shot and killed his wife during an ambush that was intended for him. Authorities are now calling that a lie. News 2's Nikki McGee has more on these new findings, leading them to believe Buford Pusser was involved.
Well, earlier this month marked 58 years since the death of Pauline Mullins Pusser. Today, law enforcement gathered to offer new information in her case. The local district attorney said that if Buford Pusser was still alive today, he would be taking out a criminal indictment against him. Now, law enforcement is teaming up here at UT Martin to help make the case file publicly available.
It's been said that the dead cannot cry out for justice. It is the duty of the living to do so. In this case, that duty has been carried out 58 years later.
TBI Director David Rausch says ongoing internal conversations, along with a tip about a possible murder weapon in 2023, led the agency to exhume Pauline's body in 2024 and perform an autopsy. He adds that there were inconsistencies in Pusser's story, but wouldn't say if the murder weapon was in fact positively identified. However, Mike Elam, who created the Other Story podcast looking into the case, says one of his followers showed him a possible gun used in the case.
See, he's been
something
on it
he says they took to
day.
the TBI together.
I drove over just to see the weapon, photograph it, get the serial number, other information off the gun. I had a check run on it. And boy, it just confirmed what this individual was telling me.
To many of our questions about basic facts in their investigation, law enforcement referred us to a 1,000-page case file they plan to release to the University of Tennessee Martin, which should be available in several weeks for both the media and public to view. Pauline Pusser's family shared a message at today's announcement.
This is closure for me and my wife and my 2 daughters. And I'm just thankful.
The TBI's communication team tells me that the Bureau is still working on redacting the case file, but expect to have it publicly available sometime in the coming weeks. If you'd like to make an appointment to view that in person, you can contact UT Martin. Reporting in Somerville, Tennessee, Nikki McGee, News 2.
Sheriff Pusser is a divisive figure in McNary County, both revered and hated by some. His legacy is everywhere. There's even an annual Buford Pusser Festival. News 2's Sam Commenti looks at what this new development means for the people in McNary County.
Generations of families grew up hearing legendary tales of lawman Buford Pusser, a sheriff who inspired decades of pop culture. But the history books are going to read a little bit differently after today. Pusser's home right here in McNary County is now faced with a new reality, one they might not accept. Their local hero didn't actually lose his wife in an ambush shooting. Instead, he more than likely killed his wife, says the TBI.
I don't believe that. I don't think he would have done that.
Every May, the town where Buford spent most of his life, Adamsville, Tennessee, holds a festival in his honor, just blocks away from where he lived. The highway through Adamsville and the county courthouse also bear his name. So it's not far-fetched to say that most everyone in McNary County, even 50 years after his death, know of or have an opinion about Sheriff Pusser. Many people I spoke with knew Buford or his kids personally. As such, they did not want to speak about the investigation's verdict.
I suspected it all along.
This McNary County native was not one of them. Why?
Because he wasn't what they portrayed him as, in the movies. And, he was a mean guy from what I understand. My parents had a lot of different stories about him, grandparents, and he wasn't the legend of the walking tall like they said he was.
Poll everybody in McNary County and you ask everybody in McNary County, do you think he did it? What would you think the majority would say?
Yes.
You think yes?
Yes.
We also chatted with a man who grew up with Buford and considered him a close friend. So close, in fact, he says he was a pallbearer at Buford's funeral.
We were friends. I loved Buford and his family. So whatever the facts are, they'll pan out on their own, but I don't believe it.
Did he ever talk to you about that day?
Well, some, but not much, hardly no details, but that I remember, but it was just something you didn't talk to him about.
In the Buford Pusser Museum, which is actually Pusser's old house here in Adamsville, told us they had no comment about today's announcement, and then they asked us to leave the establishment. About 30 minutes later, they closed up shop. Reporting in McNary County, Sam Commenti, News 2.
Even before today's revelation, Sheriff Pusser had his critics. Back in May, News 2's Mark Kelly spent time in McNary County working on several special reports about the legends surrounding Sheriff Buford Pusser. For many Tennesseans growing up in the 60s and 70s, Pusser was a hero, but a shadow of controversy looms over the lawman's legend. And some have said for years Buford has had some responsibility for his wife's death and that there is a dark side to the Pusser legacy. Mark spoke with those critics about Sheriff Pusser.
In McNary County, Buford Pusser is a legend. His positive image of the walking tall, big stick carrying sheriff who cracked down on crime continues to this day. But not everyone believes Pusser was a saint.
Look into these things and you find out it didn't happen that way at all. He walked on both sides of the law.
Mike Elam is an outsider. He's from Arkansas, where he spent years in law enforcement, but he started digging into Sheriff Pusser's past. For him, the hero story wasn't adding up, especially that the sheriff's wife, Pauline, was mistakenly murdered in an ambush that was intended to take out Buford. Elam believes Sheriff Pusser killed his wife and covered it up.
I believe it was staged to fit Buford's narrative. But when you look at the evidence, it's so convincing that he didn't tell the entire truth.
Elam launched a podcast, Buford Pusser, The Other Story. He also operates the Truth Has No Agenda tour, where he takes his guests, many law enforcement, on a guided tour of the different crime scenes from the night of Pauline's murder. Dennis Hathcock is one of the locals on that tour. Sheriff Pusser cracked down on his family's club on the state line decades ago.
He was a very evil. That's the only thing I can say.
Evil?
Right. Because he could put out that persona as a good man fighting crime and corruption. When if you really knew what was going on.
That's the importance of the tour and taking the route that Buford took that morning, because that alone convinces a lot of people it did not happen the way that Buford claimed.
Elam says other red flags at the crime scene include the location of the blood splatters and bullet holes. In fact, a tip last year led the TBI to re-examine Pauline's cold case and exhume her body.
I just think the truth is important. It's like on my podcast, I always end it by saying truth has no agenda.
In McNary County, Mark Kelly, News 2.
Still to come on a sheriff's secret uncovered, hear more from the district attorney general on the evidence he says would have brought a murder indictment if Sheriff Pusser was still alive. We look at more of our special reports on Sheriff Pusser from back in May. Hear how his granddaughter learned about his legend and what she's saying today in reaction to the revelation. The district attorney general for McNary County laid out some of the evidence he says shows Sheriff Buford Pusser is responsible for his wife's death in 1967. Here is AG Mark Davidson going in depth about what the TBI investigation found, evidence he says would have brought a grand jury indictment in Pauline Mullen Pusser's death if the late sheriff was still alive today. Back at our interview with Pauline and Buford Pusser's granddaughter and how she learned of Sheriff Pusser's legacy. Sheriff Buford Pusser died in 1974, and his daughter carried on his legacy before her death in 2018. Back in May of this year, as part of our special reports on Sheriff Buford Pusser's legacy, our Mark Kelly spoke with Buford's granddaughter on what she wants people to know about her famous family.
A lot of people have told me he was a gentle giant until you cross that line.
Granddaughter Madison Garrison Bush never met her grandfather Buford Pusser. Still, she knows him well through the stories passed down to her. Madison says the first time she realized she had a famous grandfather, she was right here in this museum in Adamsville with her first grade classmates. This museum was also Buford's old home.
I think first grade field trip to the museum, and then kids were like, "Oh, will you sign our souvenirs?" And they were my peers. And I was like, I guess, sure.
For Madison, her grandfather was ahead of his time. She's proud to say that he was the first in Tennessee to hire a black deputy. And she admits his way of serving justice would not work in today's day and age. But when need be, he showed compassion as well. She says he would allow inmates to work and earn some money.
He would release them during the day to go to work so that they could still provide for their family.
After today's press conference, Madison Garrison Bush responded regarding these results of the autopsy and that investigation into her grandmother's murder, saying, quote, "These findings suggest that her husband, my grandfather, Buford Pusser, if alive today, would be indicted for her death. I personally never knew Buford or Pauline and cannot speak to their relationship or what happened on the morning of August 12, 1967. What I do know is my family has endured traumatic loss that few people can comprehend. A dead man who cannot defend himself is being accused of an unspeakable crime. I don't understand what justice can be accomplished by pursuing this theory of my grandmother's death. Our family has been through enough pain and loss because of my grandfather's law enforcement career, and we aren't looking to reopen closed wounds." Our special on Sheriff's Secret Uncovered is back in a moment.
Amen. That girl
Back
said
in May,
it, honey.
News 2's Mark Kelly spent a few days in McNary County working on several special reports about the legends surrounding Sheriff Buford Pusser. He introduces us to people who collect memorabilia tied to the late sheriff, including one who runs a museum dedicated to Buford Pusser.
Just a little pocket gun.
If you want to know something about Sheriff Buford Pusser, Steve Sweat is your man.
This is one of Buford's guns.
Lawmakers recently designated him the honorary state historian of Sheriff Pusser. Sweat's home is practically a museum of the late sheriff's belongings, including the burned up license plate from Pusser's car crash that killed him.
When this tag became available, I told my wife, Sherry, I said, I want that tag because that was the last time I seen Buford. And that was Friday night. And he died, and this tag was burned up the next Tuesday night.
Sweat is also a big fan of the sheriff, who was famous for carrying a big stick and cleaning up bootlegging, prostitution, and gambling.
Sheriff Pusser, his story is more powerful today than it's been since the beginning.
Sweat even owns a replica of the Dodge Polara Pusser drives in the 1973 Walking Tall film.
This is a recreation of the first Walking Tall movie car that Joe Don Baker was in.
Do you drive it much?
I don't drive it as much as I used to, but yeah, I've driven it in different states even. So carrying it to different functions, but it's pretty cool.
He made a difference.
McNary County also has an actual museum, which was Pusser's old house.
This house looks like he just left it this morning.
Tina Mullis-Gerald is the curator. 177,000 people have toured this museum since it opened 37 years ago. And Mullis-Gerald is quick to clear up any myths, including that Pusser carried a big stick to fend off criminals. Pusser fans might be disappointed to find out Hollywood exaggerated that a little bit.
You'll see several sticks throughout the museum, but he didn't walk around with the stick all the time like they showed in the movie.
Really?
But it is true that he was as physically large as the movies portray.
He was huge.
Yes, he was. They made bedding just for him.
Oh my goodness.
A bedding company that was in Raymer, Tennessee, which is close to us. They made big Buford bedding and they sold it.
They marketed off of that.
Yes.
Really?
6'6", 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Wore a size 15 shoe.
Pusser wasn't just large in stature, he also created a larger-than-life persona. Some credit his former career as a pro wrestler to teaching him how to market himself as sheriff. Whatever the secret, it worked. Sheriff Pusser's reputation made him a household name and allowed him to rub shoulders with the rich and famous.
And supposedly Elvis slept in this room. We are told that Elvis and Buford were friends.
Okay.
And Graceland has said the same thing.
Okay.
Johnny Cash, Billy Graham. That was a Republican dinner party at Johnny Cash's house. They were trying to get Buford to run for governor of Tennessee.
Oh, everything I've read, I have not heard that. Do you know if he considered it?
No, he wanted to stay in law enforcement.
And law enforcement is exactly where he remained. Pusser served 3 consecutive terms, the max at the time, before his tragic death in a car crash in 1974.
He'd been in Memphis. He came home, mowed the yard, got in his Corvette, went to the county fair. And then on the way home, he died that night.
And what was it? What did they rule it was in the end?
They ruled it an accident.
You can see all of our coverage about Buford and Pauline Pusser from today and our special reports from May by going to our website, WKRN.com. Thank you for watching our special, A Sheriff's Secret.
So that's a very interesting story. I mean, and I think it's interesting. Hold on, let me get where I can see y'all. Lord have mercy, I can't see you. So what do y'all think? What do you think? What do you think? I don't know, man. Again, legends fade. Legends fade. But every story deserves the light, no matter how long it takes. But is this what really happened? I don't know, because they thought what really happened years ago. I do agree with his granddaughter, the one that don't know him and the family, as I kept telling y'all. But what did she say? She said they're so who's telling the truth? Is it law enforcement? Is it the family? Again, I feel sorry for Pauline's brother, but let sleeping dogs lie. She even said herself, what is this going to accomplish? What will this accomplish? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We'll have to wait and see and come to our own conclusions. And I want to see that report that comes out after it's out and redacted or whatever happens. The one guy said all the names are going to be in there, but only the personal things. But then TBI says they got to redact a lot of stuff. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I know this was Pauline's last ride, though. And it's the story of Buford Pusser and Pauline, what we were talking about today. And I appreciate each and every one of you being here. There's plenty of more things out there on this. That's just some of the things that I chose. It's everywhere. If you want to look back, it is very interesting. Again, I suggest if you watch the movie that you go back to the original one or watch both of them. But again, the original one is the one that needs to be watched. That's just me. Thank you all for riding with me and supporting me. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. That's all free. Truth is what it's all about and what we stand here for. And I'll come back on here later today. I think I have a pretty good story going on. I was too tired to come on here and do it last night. I have something interesting, and it's about a SK and about a daughter and about forgiveness and about all the things. And I just think it's going to be super interesting. So if you want to join me again, I may put up in an hour or so, like what time I'll go live. I usually don't do that because I don't like to be restrained down. But, I may do that and give y'all time to get in here. I hope everybody will join me. Again, it's interesting, and it's something that I just wanted to talk about that I saw. And it's interesting on a lot of levels. Again, the forgiveness level, the SK thing, it's all kinds of things. But this right here, this story is interesting to me. It's been ever since I've been a little girl. It is now, and I guess it always will be. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Please hit the thumbs up on your way out. Let's grow this channel together. Thank you. I'm Smiley. I'm going to sign off. I'll see you in the streets. YouTube streets, that is. Okay, let me see. YouTube streets. I'll see you in the YouTube streets. Love you all. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see you in a bit. Happy Sunday.